Welcome to the QIC-EY podcast, a conversation to illuminate core themes for advancing children and youth engagement and empowerment in child welfare. This podcast works in conjunction with the QIC-EY Workforce Training. I'm your host, April Dinwiddie. In this limited series, we hear from three professionals, Phoenix Santiago, Nathan Ross, and Jamole Callahan. While their experiences connected to child welfare are all different, they all share the same deep commitment to ensuring systematic changes in how children and youth are authentically engaged and empowered. In this episode, we are talking about child and youth, adult partnerships, and shared decision-making with Jamole Callahan.
Hi, I'm Jamole Callahan. My preferred pronouns are he, him, and his, and I'm a project specialist with both NACAT, the North American Council on Adoptable Children, and also the QIC-EY. Not only do I have experience as a professional working with children, youth, and families, I also have a personal experience that give me the unique perspectives related to authentic engagement and empowerment of children and youth.
We define child and youth adult partnerships as child welfare professionals' ability to form a respectful partnership with children and youth in which children and youth have a voice, and child welfare professionals and children and youth make decisions as a team. Child and youth adult partnerships have been described as relationships in which both children and youth and adults have the potential to contribute to decision-making processes, to learn from one another, and to promote change. I had to begin this podcast by asking Jamole what were his thoughts on this topic.
Well, it creates a smoother path to to a destination. Because youth haven't typically felt heard, having a shared partnership not only empowers the young person, but it gives opportunity to, again, both have a voice, so both can be heard, right? It helps have respect for one another's expertise and contribution. And when I think about that, it's helping the young person have an understanding about where you're coming from as an adult. If you want buy-in from young people, you want to have their voice involved.
We do want buy-in from children and youth. There's no question. I wanted to hear more about what partnerships in shared decision-making actually look like for professionals and children and youth, and the barriers to creating the conditions for balancing these partnerships.
Partnership and shared decision-making specifically is about the worker and the young person working together, whether it's to achieve permanency, working together to achieve a plan of education, working together to even finalize a goal of what's going to happen next week. And no decisions are reached or no movement is made unless both parties have agreed and have had input. So in essence, that's what partnerships, this type of partnership, but also the shared decision-making piece is. If we focus on the barriers of not having shared decision-making, you tend to have a young person that feels like they're not listened to. That feels like that what they have or what they're saying doesn't matter. So then they start shutting down and they start retracting from the conversation. The benefit of shared decision-making is it goes back to what we've talked about in some of the other podcasts: empowerment, education, relationship, trust. Those are the benefits of that shared decision-making. But again, as professionals, this is our opportunity to not only lead by example, but model good decision-making.
Now that's real talk, and it makes so much sense. I wanted to hear more about Jamole's experiences of child and youth adult partnerships and shared decision-making, and he had a lot to say.
I can tell you in my experience in care, there wasn't a shared decision-making opportunity. What I'm hearing and what I'm seeing now in our field is those workers are taking the time to not just make decisions on behalf of the youth, but making those decisions with the youth, specifically when it comes around visitations and permanency. There was one case, and it was a real close friend of mine, as we were talking, mentioned that that they had a worker that, and it was after they left court, asked, what is it that you want? Like, I feel this didn't go well. What is it that you want? And then after, I think he said they talked for about an hour after they left the courtroom. And by the next meeting, the worker had the list of things that this young person talked about. And of course, time has to pass. It was the next meeting, court hearing with the judge. And that worker was able to take all of those things that were concerns. And when they left that hearing, it was a totally different change from the last one, because they were able to sit down and actually work through, again, how the young person was feeling and some of the things that they wanted, versus this is what the court says, this is how we feel as a system, and really discarding.
This example reminds us that even when there has not been partnership and shared decision-making in the past, that can change, but only when we reset and take a big step back as professionals. Now, let's hear a few tips from Jamole.
When you look at just the pyramid of building partnerships, right? Young people are not tokens. They are not just window dressing. They have a real voice, right? So when you think about that shared control, everybody feels empowered. No one's independent or autonomous in the decision makings. It is truly everything's on the table. When it comes to what workers can do to make sure that shared partnership is happening, is how are you visualizing that young person? Do you see them as a person? Do you see that they have, again, as we talked about, they've lived life and they kind of have an understanding of what is next? And are you giving them the space to be open, authentic, to voice their opinion? Another tip is to not be judgmental. If there's something that triggers you as a professional based off what the young person says, how can you handle that? But I think it also being open with how you feel with them also is how you start creating the partnerships. When you're open and honest as a professional, that continues to help build trust from not only your side, but the young person's side as well.
Child and youth adult partnerships exist on a continuum. Jamole mentions the type pyramid. This is by Wong, Zimmerman, and Parker. The visual you may have seen already in the curriculum describes different types of child and youth participation and engagement based on levels of power and control, and it's worth utilizing. Truly understanding how to build and expand child and youth adult partnerships and shared decision-making requires our full attention and for us to recognize and address power imbalances. Partnership and shared decision-making is perhaps the most active and maybe the most rewarding part of child and youth engagement.
To continue your learning journey, check out the other 11 podcasts in the series, including Art of Engaging Children and Youth with Phoenix Santiago.
The QIC-EY is 100% funded by the Administration for Children and Families of the United States Department of Health and Human Services.